Welcome back to the show, everybody. Check out these headlines here. We got Charles Gasparino revealing Gary Gensler's Goldman Gensler's SEC plan to quash crypto. Oh my goodness, you're going to want to know about it. We've also got Naveen Gupta in the news today. We've also got Brad Garlinghouse says a ruling could come within weeks, not months. You're going to want all of it. Somebody roll that beautiful intro.
Digital Perspectives with Brad Kimes. Come on in.
Welcome back to the show, everybody. Forgot my mute button there. You can follow us on Twitter and YouTube for exclusive content. Good morning. $1.15 trillion market cap for cryptocurrency. The market is off by 1.5%. Bitcoin now 26,200 plus. Ethereum 1785 and change. Tether market cap is 83 billion plus. But how does the U.S. government and Department of Justice feel about it? XRP, 44 cents. The market is off in the last 24 hours for XRP, down 1.3% and up 0.5% on 7-day. Let's take a look at this. Ladies and gentlemen, no one works harder to democratize finance than Link2. Leveling the investment playing field is crucial. Read about the need for change in accreditation rules to provide equal opportunities in the finance industry. I tell you what, shout out to Joe Endoso and the whole Link2 fam over there. Click the link, find out what you need to do to get accredited. And if you are accredited, make sure you take a look at the products they offer because they don't last long and you can't get them anywhere else at the price or the minimums that they offer. So make sure you click that link, check out my sponsor. Let's start right here very quickly here. Oh boy, this is Ledger CEO on key recovery service debate. Take a quick listen here.
Here, the mistake was to release a technical note regarding the operating system before we had actually released clear communication about the product. So it was just it's not a comms mistake. It's a technical mistake in terms of publishing something first that should have never been published before we had actually released the right communication content. When we'll go to market with the Ledger Recover product, you will see the communication material that we have for this, and then you will be able to judge the quality of Ledger communication. So mistakes are mistakes, and we're not denying it. So I started my CEO letter yesterday and the AMA by sort of apologizing for the mistake in publishing this operating system notes before we could actually explain what the product was. And so taking our customers by surprise is not the style of Ledger, but this is really the thing that happened.
Okay, it is the thing that happened, but we also understand, too, a very simple thing about this is that the recovery phrase option does open a back door for civil litigants and subpoenas to be done to your keys. That's the problem, and they have delayed that program, as I understand it now, until they become more open source for an option. So we will see how that develops. China launches government-backed metaverse platform. Well, this goes along with the news we covered yesterday or in the last 2 days, which China has now started using the Chinese yuan for derivatives as well and security. So watch out, ladies and gentlemen. Lobster community, this is the MoneyGram access for Stellar Org USDC cash in, cash out is available in 16 countries. Lobster is a stellar wallet, ladies and gentlemen. This is adoption. This is growth. 16 countries is nothing to sneeze at. Meanwhile, all of the turmoil we have over clarity and regulation in the United States and the French are welcoming fleeing U.S. company crypto firms to their country. How about that? Well, that just makes sense now, does it? Thanks, Goldman Gary. Speaking of Goldman Gensler here, the heat is turning up, ladies and gentlemen, on enforcement actions against crypto companies. You're not going to like this, and I didn't either, but you're going to need to know about it.
Here's what we know from securities lawyers who represent clients that are under the gun in the crypto industry. What we understand is that Gensler is preparing essentially what has been described as a second leg of enforcement actions against the industry. it's been described to me from these same lawyers. Again, these are securities lawyers. A lot of them used to work at the SEC. You know, that's kind of how it works. You work at the SEC, then you go into private practice. What they're saying is that he's flogging, that's the word I heard, flogging his staff to bring crypto cases, and bring a lot of them following the FTX debacle. He thinks he's got good law on his side, and here's where he wants to bring the cases, from what I understand, at least the read I'm getting. Okay, remember, I'm only as good as my sources. This is what they're telling me. The read is that they're looking at any case that has that is related to unregistered digital coins being sold that should be registered securities. That could mean both the sort of creators of the coin, the companies that are using it to finance whatever operations they have, like Ripple, like the case against Ripple, which has still not been settled. It's still going on. And exchanges. Okay, so that's what I understand. It's all encompassing. He's pushing for it. We should point out that there's a meeting tomorrow at the SEC. Apparently, the meeting with the commissioners occurs when they talk about enforcement cases. From what I understand, this will likely be part of that meeting. So stay tuned for more crypto cases coming soon. And again, on this whole issue of securities. Now, one point before I wrap it up. If Ripple wins the case, this kind of becomes a moot point. It's going to be very hard for Gary Gensler to bring cases of unregistered securities if somehow the courts set a precedent that says you can issue these things and you don't have to register them. And even if you use it to build out your platform, which Ripple did partially for their cross-border payment system. If they win the case, meaning the SEC wins, well, I think Gensler is smelling a win based on what happened at FTX and a lot more. What's going to hit the fan.
Well, let's talk about this for a second, because the reality is that Goldman Gensler allowed the FTX debacle to take place because he didn't do his job in the first place, and that may have very well been because Sam Bankman-Fried and FTX were the second largest Democratic donor, so that may have been why he had the Clydesdale blinders on. So now, outside of that, yes, if Ripple gets an out-and-out win, this is a moot point. Now, you're going to hear Brad Garlinghouse in just a couple minutes here. You're going to hear Brad Garlinghouse say that he expects a decision within weeks, not months now, and he's going to give the reason why. But if that is the case, and Gary Gensler is mounting up this huge crypto campaign to just squash crypto and exchanges especially, well, then I would suggest that he may know, as Brad may know, what the outcome will be. And maybe it's like a lot of these legal analysts have suggested, that it's a split decision. One that allows Ripple to have a win, and one that allows, to some degree, the SEC to have a win. It could be, right? Or the fact is maybe the SEC knows that they're not going to get the win that they want, so before it comes down, they're going to do a sweep on crypto before the decision comes in that could mess it all up. Who knows? But either way, Gary Goldman Gensler is planning on a real enforcement action that we've never seen, to a level we've never seen before. Head on a swivel. If he goes after the exchanges and he's not stopped, where are you going to get your crypto? How are you going to get on and off the platforms? Meanwhile, I have this. Now, there is music in this clip here. And shout out to Kate Reinhart and shout out to Naveen Gupta in this clip. I have this muted because there's music in here that we can't hear. But nevertheless, I have hopefully the ability for you to hear this without incident. Let me see if I can sync the audio and the video up on this, and I apologize if I didn't, but this is audio you can listen to without a copyright strike. Let's take a listen here.
In their financial flows.
So let's take a simple example, right? So there is a buyer and supplier. Both of them are based in different countries. And today, the terms are net 30. That means the buyer pays the supplier 30 days after the goods have been received. Now, today, when they make the payment, the actual money is credited into the account of the supplier only on the 33rd day. That means they lose on an average 3 days of working capital every month. This compounds to 36 days over 1 year. Now, let's assume if they were using cryptocurrencies as a bridge, the payment that the supplier will be receiving will be instant, eliminating this 36 days of wasteful working capital that today they have to bear with, which essentially means that they can be 10% more productive in their business by eliminating this and receiving the money on the 30th day when it is sent by the buyer. And that's the power of cryptocurrencies that the businesses would like to harness.
But the region that you lead here, MENA, the Middle East and North Africa, there's been a lot of interest in crypto. Can you talk about the temperature here for crypto, the adoption of crypto in the Middle East?
Yeah, absolutely. So firstly, Middle East always had progressive regulations around crypto. So if you look at specifically the UAE, it already has enabling regulation. It has a virtual asset specific regulator that's helping with the adoption of cryptocurrencies itself. Every day, I get phone calls from multiple countries around the world for Web3 entrepreneurs who wants to move to the UAE and call it their home. And this is what we are seeing. We are seeing entrepreneurs, we are seeing money, we are seeing enabling regulation, and that's what's making the Middle East the hotbed for cryptocurrencies and entrepreneurship around it.
And there we have that. And not only is that the case, that adoption in the Middle East and all around the world is taking place, but we also have this. This is Brad Garlinghouse right here. Shout out to XRP Newt, who shared this clip. This is exciting, ladies and gentlemen. Listen to what he says here. Breaking, Brad Garlinghouse expects the court case resolution within weeks, not months, following the recent court news regarding the Hinman emails. Shout out to Brad.
Now, in terms of where things stand today, I'll try to not get too much into the legal weeds. You are right that I feel very confident that we'll see a decision from the courts in this year. In fact, I think I would guess it'll be in weeks, not months. There's some decisions that happened last week that you may have read about, that the judge ruled against the SEC's effort to redact certain information about a very kind of infamous speech that the then director of corporate finance, a guy named Bill Hinman, gave, talking about why ETH, in his view, was not a security. And the court just ruled last week that the notes and emails associated with that are going to be made public and should be public around June 13th. So I think that's a huge win for transparency. But what really calls out is there hasn't been clarity. And despite calls and demands from leaders across the crypto industry, we haven't seen that yet. But as I said, Ripple decided to lean in and fight this fight, both for Ripple, but for the whole industry. We've spent a lot of money defending it. And I think what we've called out is really that the government in the United States and the SEC particularly is putting politics ahead of smart policy. And because of that, you're seeing entrepreneurs go overseas. You're seeing companies like Ripple. Most of our hiring is non-US now. Most of our customers, as I mentioned, are non-US. And so I think it's kind of to be expected.
And there you have it, ladies and gentlemen. A decision, hopefully, and resolution to the case within weeks, not months. And could that also be a hint to why Gary Gensler is planning a sweeping action in crypto, especially against exchanges? Not financial advice from me or anyone else. Head on a swivel, ladies and gentlemen. This is about to get very, very interesting. For the first time in over 2.5 years, we're about to get some information that we've never had before, and likely may set in motion what the rest of this crypto space has to look forward to. And going forward and getting any clarity, this may be what we get for the next couple years that informs this market and this space on digital assets. I'll catch all of you on the next one.